Westwood?
Welcome back, Warner fam. Today, I'll be recapping a chilling 2016 thriller drama, Girl in the Box. It's the terrifying true story of Colleen Stan's 1977 abduction. So, keep your eyes wide open and stay safe. The movie begins late at night. Cameron and Janice Hooker, a married couple, head deep into a dark forest to hide a lifeless body. Janice grips her prayer beads, trembling in fear and guilt. Her husband, Cameron, tries to calm her, saying it was an accident, that they never meant to hurt anyone. But as they bury the body, a cold, hollow silence fills the air. They hurry away before the first light of dawn. A year later, we meet Colleen Stan, a young woman trying to hitchhike to Westwood, California. She stands on the side of the road, hoping for a ride. It's there that she meets Cameron and Janice, the same couple from the forest. They offer her a lift, and Colleen happily accepts. As they drive, they talk. Colleen reveals she's going to surprise her best friend in Westwood, a secret she's kept to herself. Cameron seems pleased, and his smile grows wider. He pulls into a gas station for a break. While Colleen goes to the restroom, Cameron quietly opens the trunk. He pulls out a strange wooden box and sets it in the back seat. When Colleen comes back, she notices the box but brushes it off, not thinking much of it. They continue their drive, but Cameron suggests a detour to visit some ice caves before they reach Westwood. Colleen hesitates, wanting to get to California before nightfall, but with no other choice, she reluctantly agrees. As they pull into a quiet, secluded area, Janice leads the way toward the caves. Colleen, growing more anxious, starts to feel something's wrong. Before she can react, Cameron suddenly pulls out a knife, pressing it to her neck. He forces her to the ground, blindfolding her, then cuffing her hands behind her back. In a flash, he shoves her into the car again. But the worst part is yet to come. He takes the wooden box and forces her head inside it, sealing her in darkness to keep her from knowing where they're going. In the next scene, Cameron and Janice drive Colleen to their home in Red Bluff. Once they arrive, Cameron forces Colleen out of the car and strips her, tying her down. He begins to lash out at her, hurting her as Janice watches in shock. Cameron seems to enjoy the pain he causes, smiling at her fear and screams. It's clear he's a man without mercy. When he's finally done, he ties Colleen to a table, making her stay still. Then he forces her head back into the wooden box again, trapping her in the dark. Colleen is left feeling terrified and alone, with no way to escape. The next morning, Janice nervously approaches Cameron, her face full of worry. She asks him what they plan to do with Colleen. Cameron coldly tells her that they'll get rid of her when he no longer finds her fun. After that, he leaves for work, leaving Janice to face her fears and doubts alone. As the day goes on, Colleen's cries echo through the house, breaking the silence and disturbing Janice's brief moments of peace. Unable to ignore it any longer, Janice heads downstairs. Colleen begs for her freedom, promising to stay quiet about everything if they let her go. But Janice, unmoved by her pleas, turns and walks away, leaving Colleen in her misery. Later that evening, Cameron comes home. He tends to Colleen's basic needs, but does so while hurting her at the same time. The sound of Colleen's screams fills the house, and Janice, unable to handle it, puts on a pair of headphones and cranks the volume up high, probably to drown out the noise, maybe even listening to Dolly Parton. When Cameron grows tired of his cruelty, he heads to bed. But before he can sleep, Janice quietly walks over to him, her voice shaky with fear. She tells him that keeping Colleen with them might be too dangerous, like having a ticking time bomb in their house. Cameron brushes off her concerns, coldly reminding Janice of the vows she took when they got married, as if those words were chains around her neck. Cameron calmly tells Janice that he has no plans to get close to Colleen. He only wants to use her as a slave, someone to serve his needs and desires. Later, around midnight, Cameron builds a box that looks like a coffin. He locks Colleen inside, sealing her in with just enough room to breathe. He attaches an oxygen tube to the box, making sure she stays alive, trapped in the dark. As the hours pass, Colleen starts to lose herself in the suffocating dark. Her thoughts twist into painful hallucinations, and all she wants is to escape. Regrets fill her mind, and she remembers her father's advice to take the bus instead of hitchhiking. She had ignored it then, but now she wishes she hadn't. Meanwhile, Colleen's parents are hit with the painful truth of her disappearance when the landlord calls them about her unpaid rent. Worried sick, they immediately rush to the police, desperate for answers. 6 months pass, and Colleen is still trapped under Cameron and Janice's control. One day, Janice goes to Cameron at work and shares some news. She's pregnant. She tells him she's worried about their future and suggests letting Colleen go. She fears their actions could harm their unborn child, but Cameron quickly shuts her down. He says it's too dangerous and insists they can't let Colleen go, not now. Later, Cameron comes up with a wicked plan to scare Colleen and make sure she never tries to escape. He lies to her, telling her he works for a company that deals in human trafficking. Cameron coldly tells Colleen that she is his property now, and if she tries to run away, the company will find her and punish her badly. To make her more afraid, he spins horrible stories about how cruel the company is. He even threatens to hurt her family if she dares to escape. As Colleen's fear grows, Cameron forces her to sign fake papers that say she's safe and protected from the slave trading group. He tricks her into believing this is the only way to keep her alive. Janice, desperate to have a child of her own, doesn't speak up. She quietly agrees to the lie. When Cameron says that Janice was once a slave too, but he married her out of kindness, Janice stays silent. She doesn't argue, too lost in her own desire for a family. The next day, Cameron prepares Colleen for what's to come. He dresses her and locks a collar around her neck. He gives her a new name, Kay, and demands she sees him and Janice as her masters, obeying their every command. Cameron tells Colleen that whenever he calls her, she must go to a specific spot, take off her gown, and raise her hand like she's waiting for orders. The terrified girl, shaking with fear, does exactly as he says without question. Later, while cleaning, Colleen finds a Bible and tries to read it, hoping for comfort. But just as she opens it, Janice grabs it from her hands. Janice coldly reminds Colleen that she has no value, that her only purpose is to suffer and obey. Months later, the landlord tells Cameron he needs to check the furnace. Cameron becomes worried. He tells Janice they need to move soon, thinking they're at risk of getting caught. Not long after, Janice gives birth to a baby girl, and Cameron is the only one there to help her through it. They name the baby Amber. After some time, Colleen is allowed to see the baby. Though she's sent away quickly, she feels a rush of joy just from meeting the little girl. A year later, the cruel couple moves to a new place far away from the city. One evening, while having dinner, Janice notices Colleen hasn't picked up her fork. Furious, Janice accuses Colleen of being lazy and deceitful, calling her worthless. Cameron, also angry, punishes Colleen harshly. The next day, Janice finds out that the fork had just fallen to the floor, which fills her with guilt and regret. Later, Cameron scares Colleen with a story about a slave who was killed for trying to escape. He reminds Colleen how lucky she is to have him as her master, trying to make her feel even more trapped. A few days later, Cameron removes Colleen's collar and dresses her in normal clothes. He tells her they're going outside to collect firewood in the mountains, and for the first time in years, Colleen feels a spark of happiness. As they walk, Colleen nervously asks if she will ever be able to go home. Cameron coldly tells her that it's unlikely. While gathering firewood, Cameron slips and injures himself with an axe, falling to the ground. In that moment, Colleen sees a chance to escape. Her heart races, but she hesitates. Instead of running, she chooses to help him, torn between fear and a deep sense of duty. When they get back home, Colleen carefully tends to Cameron's wound, but Janice, growing jealous, insists that she handle it herself. As the couple gets ready for bed, Janice tries to be close to Cameron, but he turns her away. Feeling ignored, Janice snaps. She accuses him of caring more about Colleen than her, and storms out of the room in fury. She orders Cameron to lock Colleen back in the box and never touch her again. 3 years pass, and Colleen is still trapped under Cameron and Janice's control. One day, Janice lets her out of the box for a brief moment to empty her urinal. During this time, Colleen catches a glimpse of Amber, now growing into a young woman. Seeing Amber reminds Colleen of how many years have passed since she was taken. She can hardly believe how much time has gone by. One day, the family decides to visit Lake Tahoe, leaving Colleen locked in her box. Tragically, while they're gone, a problem with the ventilation system causes Colleen to suffocate. She starts to see things, trapped in terrifying hallucinations. Finally, she wakes up, gasping for air. In a panic, she kicks the box with all her strength until it finally breaks open. When the family returns from their trip to the lake, Cameron rushes to check on Colleen. To his shock, she's gone. He searches the house, panicked, hoping she's still there. Finally, he finds her hiding behind the shower, clutching a Bible. As he prepares to punish her, Colleen calmly explains that the ventilation had broken, causing her to suffocate. 5 years later, Colleen has become a part of the family. One day, Janice and Colleen go to church together. During the service, the priest's sermon hits Janice hard, bringing back painful memories of her past mistakes. Overcome with guilt, Janice shakes with anxiety. In that moment, Colleen gently reaches out and takes her hand, offering her comfort and support. As time passes, Janice struggles more with her husband's abusive behavior. She begins to feel sympathy for Colleen and worries about Amber's future. After a year, Cameron brings exciting news to Colleen. The company has allowed her to visit her home. This news fills Colleen with joy, but Cameron quickly reminds her that she must finish obedience training first. Soon after, Cameron takes Colleen outside and hands her a shotgun. He orders her to aim it at her mouth and pull the trigger. her. With tears streaming down her face, the terrified girl obeys without a word. Luckily, the gun doesn't fire, and Colleen survives this horrifying moment. The next morning, Cameron drives Colleen to her parents' house. On the way, he mentions how much money he spent to make this visit possible, and Colleen thanks him for it. When they arrive, just as Colleen is about to hug her family, Cameron warns her. He reminds her that the company is always watching, telling her to be careful and avoid making any mistakes. After Cameron leaves, Colleen tells her family a made-up story. She says that Cameron is her boyfriend, and they've been together for 6 years. Her parents are happy to see her again after so long, but her sister Bonnie feels like something is wrong. Bonnie wants to ask Colleen about it, but their dad doesn't want to spoil the happy moment. Later that night, Bonnie can't help but ask Colleen why she's been out of touch for so long. Colleen, looking nervous, avoids answering the question. The next morning, Bonnie begs Colleen to tell her what's really going on. Colleen thinks about telling the truth, but before she can say anything, Cameron shows up to pick her up. As Colleen nervously grabs her things, Cameron talks to her parents. He tells them that he and Colleen are planning to get married soon. As they get ready to leave, Bonnie asks where they live. Cameron confidently says they live in California, but Colleen had told Bonnie their home was in Oregon. This small lie makes Bonnie even more suspicious, but she decides to stay quiet for now. In the next scene, Cameron comes home with Colleen and drops a bombshell. He says he wants to marry her and start a family. What they don't know is that Janice is listening from another room. The next morning, Colleen notices Janice packing and asks where she's going. At first, Janice says she's just going to visit her parents, but then she admits she wants to leave Cameron and end their marriage. As Janice tries to leave, Cameron stops her, insisting that she must come back to the house. But Janice has had enough. She leaves with her father and Amber, ignoring Cameron's pleas. He is left feeling hopeless. When Colleen tries to comfort him, he snaps in anger, reminding her that she is still his servant. He yells, "Attention!" making Colleen quickly undress and stand in the corner. Later, Cameron drags her into the basement of his shack and locks the door behind her. He tells Colleen that someone else will be joining her soon, then drives away, leaving her shivering in the cold rain. Meanwhile, Janice is at church, praying to God for forgiveness. It's there that she realizes she must rescue Colleen before it's too late. Without wasting any time, she rushes home, opens the basement door, and frees Colleen. She helps the scared girl get dressed and urges her to leave, but Colleen hesitates, thinking that Cameron will calm down and forgive her eventually. However, Janice shares a shocking truth. She tells Colleen that she and Cameron had once trapped another girl named Marlette about a year ago. At first, Cameron made it seem like a game, but Marlette's constant screaming made him lose control, and he ended up killing her. Janice then admits that they buried Marlette's body together, an event that deeply changed her. Later, Cameron comes home with a shovel, planning to go to the shack, but when he arrives, he's shocked to find that Colleen is gone. Meanwhile, Janice is walking Colleen to the bus stop, encouraging her to go home and find her freedom. When the bus finally arrives, Colleen hesitates, still scared that the slave trade group might find her. But Janice tells her the truth. The whole story about the group was made up, and Cameron had nothing to do with it. Hearing this, Colleen feels a huge wave of relief. She gets out of the car and climbs onto the bus. As Colleen makes her way back home, Cameron is shown in despair, crying on the floor, having lost both Janice and Colleen. In the final scene, it's revealed that Janice told the police everything to ease her guilt. They started an investigation, and in the end, Cameron was sentenced to 104 years in prison. On the other hand, Janice got immunity for helping bring him down. Sadly, Marlette's body was never found. The film ends with the police revealing that Colleen had been held captive for 2,640 days, which is about 7 years. What would you do if you were trapped in a lie for years, fighting for freedom, but too scared to trust anyone? Could you escape, or would you stay trapped forever? Let me know in the comments. So if you liked this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications for more recaps. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Warner Movie Recaps.